Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Veg Grower Podcast. My name's Richard and I want to encourage and inspire you to grow more of your own food in whatever space you have available. And I do this by showing exactly what's been going on in my own allotment, my own kitchen garden here in Littlehampton on the south coast of the UK. I've been growing my own for over 30 years now, but I still learn something new every single day. Now, coming up this week, the kitchen garden has been hit by a rather heavy frost. That has meant that plants have started to die. We're heading down to the allotment, a bit of an update coming from there, and then finally I've got a Christmas gift idea that I want to share with you in a conversation with a young lady called Belle. So there's a lot to get through today. Let's crack on with it, shall we? I'm here in the kitchen garden and it's probably noted that the temperature has dropped quite dramatically this week. The first frost of the year has happened here in Littlehampton and it was rather cold. I woke up one morning and the temperature was just below freezing. We had a heavy frost on the grass and all over the place, even the windscreen on the vehicle. And later on that same day, we even had snow while I was at work. Now, to many people, this probably sounds like a bit of a disaster, but actually at this time of year, I'm quite glad to get a bit of a frost. You see, my trouble is I try and keep most of my plants alive for as long as I possibly can. I try and get the most out of them for as long as I possibly can. And things like my nasturtiums, my tomatoes, my aubergines, my chilies that were still outside were growing quite nice and strong and still producing fruit. But we saw this frost was going to come along, so I ran outside the night before this frost was coming along and harvested all the vegetables that could be harvested. And the following day, of course, the frost had killed off all of my tender plants. Now, as I said, that might sound like a bit of a disaster for some people, but for me I was quite glad because a lot of the nasturtiums in particular had been taken over, and although they were covering the soil, protecting the soil a bit, they were rather large. And with them being killed off, it meant I could cut them all back and compost all of that foliage while it's still got plenty of green in it. Now, you could tell the difference when the frost had killed these plants. They really did look like they had been hit quite hard. The leaves had gone droopy and crisp and just looked like they were not going to survive. So what I did then, with them looking like that, I then just cut down all of these plants at the base, at soil level, leaving the roots in the ground. As you know, that's part of our thing that we do. We leave the roots in the ground to rot down in place, and all that foliage gets taken off to the compost bins. Now, of course, there are some plants that we still wanted to protect, still wanted to save, and this is why it's so important to keep an eye on the weather. Because I saw the frost was coming and I managed to run out the night before again, get my fleece out and cover over all my plants, which has meant that a lot of my lettuces and other plants that are a bit more delicate, they have been protected and they have been saved, which will keep us in food for that little bit longer. Because I've made a bit more room in one of my beds, I've decided I was going to plant up some of my spare herb plants I had growing in my cold frame. These were things like my parsley and coriander, and I've got lots of thyme seedlings as well. And I just wanted to go into one of these beds, one of the small beds I have down towards the front of my garden. I'm thinking this will become our herb garden. This did have my tomatoes and nasturtiums and other plants like that in, and now it's full of parsley, coriander and other herbs that I've also protected again with a bit of fleece and a cloche in some places, a bit of plastic material, basically a plastic bottle with the bottom cut off, that is protecting some of these plants in order to keep them going for that little bit longer. We of course have some of these herbs growing indoors on the kitchen windowsill as well, so hopefully that will keep us with a few more herbs for that bit longer. We do like to use lots of herbs here, so it's definitely something we're looking forward to using more of. Now, I've got to admit, I've been growing a lot of herbs over the years in Belfast sinks, and I'm considering not using my Belfast sinks now. My Belfast sinks were growing up against my house outside the kitchen window, but since I've had my pathway redone, I kind of feel it doesn't quite look the part. So I'm thinking we will not grow herbs in the Belfast sinks anymore. We're going to grow them in the ground and see how they get on. Don't want to waste the Belfast sinks. I will find ways of using it in the future, but whatever happens, we've got to grow lots of herbs, and perhaps they will grow in beds. One of the great things about herbs, however, as we move more to polyculture, herbs are great companion plants. Thyme, dill, basil, grown in the right conditions with the right companions, they can benefit each other. So this is something I'm looking forward to really experimenting with next year a lot more. However, all the time we are living in fear of frost, we don't want to leave any plants outside unprotected. So protection is now all go. Well, I think it's now time to head on down to the allotment and find out what's been going on down there. In the meantime, let's find out what's been going on in the Supporters Club this week. Well, it's that point of the podcast where I just ask if you would be good enough to leave a rate and review on your podcast provider. It only takes you a few seconds to leave a rate and review, but it means well to us. It helps us get found by more people who might also be interested in learning more about how to grow their own food. But not only that, if you are enjoying this podcast and you want to help support the work that we do, then please consider becoming a member of the Veg Grower Podcast Supporters Club. For just £5 a month, you get access to extra behind-the-scenes podcasts that give you a bit more of an idea of what's going on here at the Veg Grower Podcast HQ. Added to that, once a month through the letterbox, you will receive our monthly seed pack. And that seed pack contains a collection of seeds that can be sown in that very month. I've carefully collected these seeds to be sown throughout that month. Added to that, you will also receive a copy of our mini newspaper, which gives you a few instructions on how to sow those seeds, as well as a bit of a tick list and things that you could also be doing throughout that month. And that is all for £5 a month. Now, as an example, over this last week, we've been sowing peas, a commonly eaten vegetable that I'm sure we all want to grow more of. And we've also been growing cress, a microgreen, which is just trying to use our gardens or our indoor areas as much as we possibly can. Now, if that sounds like something you would be interested in, head to the veggrowerpodcast.co.uk to find out more and sign up. Would love to have you there. Right, back to the gardening. Well, I've got down to the allotment now, and I've got very little time for the allotment this weekend. And in fact, the only time that I've had on the allotment this weekend has been while it has been raining. Now, my mother-in-law, unfortunately, has been very unwell for the last couple of years, and this weekend it has taken a dramatic change. My wife, of course, is very stressed. She's been caring for her mum for the last couple of years, and I won't go into details, but I'm there supporting my wife. And this has meant that really the allotment needs to take a back seat. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not visiting the allotment at all. It's more that this weekend all I've got is an hour to spend on the allotment. And as I said, it's raining outside. So I wanted to make my hour count. So I decided what I was going to do to make the most of my hour. I was going to go into my shed and give it a real, proper, good tidy up. Now, this is something that I do talk about a lot when it is raining and when we can't get outside. Tidying the shed is something that I try and do. For me, it is the hub of everything we do on the allotment. The shed is the place we visit first. It's where we have all our plans. It's a place to work in when it's wet, place to sit down and make a cup of tea, a place where we draw up plans. For me, it needs to be a really neat, tidy, workable space. I hate mess. I absolutely hate a mess. But I can't help making a mess at the same time. It's one of those horrible ADHD things that goes on. But every now and then I like to give the shed a really good blitz. And this was this weekend while it was raining. Now my shed here on the allotment, I've got a couple of old kitchen cupboards in there with worktops on top, and I've emptied out every single cupboard, cleaned and tidied up everything, and then washing any pots, any labels, washing anything up as we went. And then I tidied everything away to try and get everything in its own little place. Now this is a hard thing to do because I find that when I try and be organised, my plans or what I use the most tends to change. I try and keep everything that I use the most at the front where I can easily grab it. And the things I don't need so much are towards the back. The trouble I find is that when I have things at the back, they're usually the things that I need in an emergency or to get me out of trouble, and therefore because they're at the back, and it's the same with kitchen cupboards at home, isn't it? I think they're too deep in some ways. Everything at the back is forgotten about and it's awkward to get to. I don't like things being awkward to get to. I like things to be easy to grab. So anyway, I've organised my cupboards in a way that I think makes sense. It probably will change as we go along. And then I've just cleaned down all my worktops, given them a good wash. I've got a little kettle in here with a gas stove, which I've given a really good clean as well. And that just makes it easier. When it is cold and we're down on the allotment, it's easy to fire up the kettle and get a nice hot drink inside us to make it all the more pleasurable. As I said, somewhere to sit down on an allotment or any garden for that matter with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea makes all the difference. I often say that I make some of my best gardening plans when I just sit there enjoying a cup of tea or coffee. Now, I know some people are not allowed sheds on their allotment, which I find to be a bit of a sad thing in some ways. For me, the shed really is the hub of my allotment. First place I go to, I open it up and get involved and keep my to-do lists and notepads, things like that, where I need them. Unfortunately, sheds are also cold at the same time, so I do like to keep a nice little fleece in here just for when I do get really cold, or even a blanket sometimes, just for when I do get really cold and I just want to sit there making the most out of it. Now outside, unfortunately this week, because of my limited time, I have not been able to do much, and unfortunately that's the way it goes some weeks, especially during the winter months. It will get better in the not too distant future. We will be back on it very soon. Just this week it has had to take a bit of a back seat, but at the same time I've made my hour count. Right, I'm going to head on home where I'm going to be chatting to a company called Seal Stop about quite an ingenious gadget that you might want to find under your Christmas tree this year. In the meantime, let's find out what's been going on in the kitchen this week.
Chopping all the veggies, sizzle in the air. Chef's got with the magic, smells are everywhere. Water starts to boil, onions hit the pan. Recipe of the week, let the feast begin. Cooking with Chef Scott, flavors come alive. Tune in every week for a tasty bite.
Well, at this time of year, the end of November, we are always looking for some comforting food, especially using some of those vegetables that we have either from the garden or from storage. And two of these winter vegetables are leeks and potatoes. And this week's recipe is a creamy leek and potato bake, which is a really simple bake, warm and creamy, full of flavour and not too heavy. And it works brilliantly as a side dish. It is absolutely delicious. I made it this weekend and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So what we did is we took 3 medium leeks, which we've trimmed, washed and sliced and placed into a pan with a bit of butter and a bit of oil and just gently cooked for about 10 minutes until they were soft. We then added in 2 cloves of garlic that we've crushed and cooked that for another minute. While that was cooking, in a jug, we've combined 200 millilitres of double cream, 150 millilitres of milk, a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, and a handful of fresh thyme, or you could use parsley instead. It's been chopped. Just giving it a really, really good mix. Bit of salt and pepper added to the jug as well. And then what we did is we took 600 grams of potatoes, which we peeled, and then we sliced those very thinly. I actually used our vegetable peeler to slice the potatoes. In an oven-proof dish, we then added a layer of the leeks, which we've then added a layer of potatoes. We then added another layer of leeks, another layer of potatoes, and we just repeated until everything was used up. I got 2 layers of each. We poured over that cream mixture all over, making sure it was spread evenly around, and then we scattered over a handful of grated cheese over the top. We then placed it in the oven on gas mark 6 for about 50 minutes until the potatoes were nice and tender and the top was golden. Then we just let it rest for 5 minutes before serving, and it was absolutely delicious and tasted absolutely amazing. Recipe is, of course, on the veggrowerpodcast.co.uk. Please do go give it a try because I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Now, coming up in just a moment, I have got Belle from Seal Stop. And Seal Stop is a company that I've seen on social media a bit lately. They have got an ingenious way of stopping your watering can from overfilling when you are filling it up. And it is such an easy, simple thing that I think it is well worth a mention. Now, listeners will know that one of my annoyances or one of my core values is that we need to try and preserve as much water as we possibly can. And I'm joined today by Belle from Seal Stop that has a particularly nifty gadget that might be brilliant for a Christmas present that helps in this particular field. Belle, welcome to the Veg Grower Podcast. Hope you're well.
Yeah, no, really good. I'm really excited about speaking to you about Seal Stop and letting your listeners know all about our product.
Fantastic. So I always like to find a little bit about your background before we get into the product. Is this thing a particular field you've been interested in your whole life, or did you just come up with the concept?
So my story is very random, I won't lie. So I was a radiographer in the NHS for 11 years. I finished December 24. And basically the reason the product was invented is because we live on a small holding in Yorkshire. So I have loads of animals. We grow our own vegetables. And so basically what would happen is I would pop the hose pipe in the bucket, walk away, get distracted, and you come back to a flooded mess. And I thought there's got to be a solution out there to solve this. And there wasn't. So basically I spent 5 years going from idea to prototyping to finally launching Seal Stop last year. And it's been amazing. And during this journey, I learned more and more about the water crisis that's going on. And for me, it was brilliant because losing radiography, which obviously I helped a lot of people. And I love the fact that now I can use Seal Stop in a way to educate people about reusing water, being more mindful how they're using water, and help people in a completely different industry.
Fantastic. So I guess the question we need to get to is, what is Seal Stop then?
Yeah, so Seal Stop is a British-made water-saving device. So you attach it to your garden hose pipe, it clips onto your bucket, trough, container or watering can, and it'll automatically stop the flow of water when the container is full. So it means now that you can walk away and not waste water. And basically it's perfect for gardeners because you can have multiple watering cans going at the same time. So have one filling, as you're using one, you can start doing your weeding in between, come back, the next one's ready. And it's just basically having water ready when you need it. But also where it's really good is dipping tanks have become really, really popular. So you have Seal Stop filling up your trough, you then decant your water from your watering can, it then rise up and it'll automatically stop and refill it.
One of my annoyances has been when I've been filling up my watering cans and it's overfilled. It is incredibly annoying when that happens.
It sloshes down your wellies as well, doesn't it? Let's not lie. It's overfull.
It is, but it's also incredibly wasteful. And down on the south coast here, there's still talks of hosepipe bans.
And here in Yorkshire, to be fair, we're on a temporary usage ban as well.
Wow. So it is a national thing at the moment, that hosepipe bans. And here we are in November when we're not really thinking about using the hosepipes, and hosepipe bans are existing. Does this work on any hosepipe?
Yeah, so it works on a 12.5mm hosepipe, which is your usual standard garden hosepipe. It does have to be used on mains water at the moment. However, future developments are about bringing out a low pressure version, which will work on water butts and just people collecting water in different containers, such as IBCs. So that's a future development that I have fingers crossed we'll have out next year.
Oh, brilliant! That's something I'm quite excited to find out about as well when that comes out, because I have 16 water butts in my garden, and I'm a big proponent for using water butts. And again, there are times when I've left the tap on and forgotten about it.
I think the same. When you've gone through all the hard work of collecting the water, to just drain the whole water butt is absolutely devastating. But the business is all about getting people to collect rainwater, reuse water, and then if we have to rely on mains water, it's using it correctly and only using what you need. So basically, I use my platforms to promote people actually using rainwater as gold standard, and then only seal stop if you actually have to rely on mains.
Brilliant. That actually ties in nicely with my whole ethology as well. You obviously sound like you're very into preserving water. Where does that come from?
I suppose it comes from the fact that I've always lived this lifestyle anyway. So like same as you, we've got loads of water butts and IBCs collecting water, and a real keen passion on reusing. So can it naturally happened? And then as I was researching, there's no one out there really being a spokesperson for outdoor watering. So it's kind of, I can do my bit to make watering easier, basically. So I can help people know that there are different ways to save water and how to repurpose it. Especially, I come from more the equestrian world, and the equestrian world is very, obviously, water intensive, and we waste so much water. So it's trying to educate people on, we can save water and I can make your life easier with using products such as Seal Stop. And that's kind of where it all comes from, is because I know how important it is to save water, and I know what the future looks like. And it's really difficult here in the UK because, like the weather's done for us this week, it has rained a lot, but we're only capturing 7% of that rainfall. It's trying to get people to understand that, yes, it's rained a lot, and climate change is going to be like that. These floods and these droughts are going to become more extreme. And it's finding ways to use that water when we have it and use it cleverly, basically. So that's also where I want to go in the businesses. Right now, everyone's water butts are really full, but we're not gardening as per se and using it. So how can we use that water that we've got right now for future or for repurposing, basically? And that's what I'm trying to do with my platform, basically.
That's brilliant. I mean, again, this is something I'm fully behind, because I do believe we need to conserve as much water as possible. I think it's ridiculous, and I've said this time and time again. We pump perfectly good, fresh drinking water to our houses and we use it to flush the toilet. It just doesn't make any sense in my eyes, that. And again, this is why I have so many water butts. I have 16 in my garden, which, we could always do with more. We're trying to fit more in where we can. And I find myself pumping water from one watering butt to another water butt where I'm not able to attach it to downpipes or anything, just to try and preserve more water. But could I use Seal Stop on that as well, as a way of stopping my water butt from overfilling?
If you're working it on a pump, if it's on a 12-volt pump, then it'll work, yeah. The problem with it at the moment is why it won't work on, say, a water butt, is there's just not enough water pressure to activate the diaphragm.
Right.
So that's the problem. As soon as it drops slightly in your water butt, there just won't be the pressure to it to just basically start it from flowing. So if you're using it with a pump, especially at 12 volt, because they're actually not very expensive, it'll work absolutely fine for that, because you've got enough pressure, basically. So it works on between 0.5 bar up to 5.5 bar of pressure, which is your standard mains water pressures.
Okay, so 0.5 bar is pretty low water pressure as well, isn't it? So I know there are some areas where we do have problems with low water pressure.
That's us, to be fair.
That's you. I know a town near us, Brighton, that suffers quite badly from low water pressure as well, and that's probably around that half a bar water pressure. So it's still going to work.
Yeah, it makes the pain point more relevant because when you have really low water pressure, the pain point's even higher. So for me to fill up like 40-litre trough for my horses for the stable, that's like 3.5, 4 minutes. And it's a long time to stand there waiting. You're just not going to do it. So you just walk away. It's life, isn't it? Life's so busy. We need the convenience.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Does your Seal Stop product, does it need any power to get it to work, or is it all purely done through pressure?
All done through pressure. So when I was designing it, I knew for a fact that I wanted to make it simple. Some people are basically off-grid, aren't they? So you're thinking allotments that only have mains water but no electric. So yeah, it's working on pressure alone. So I wanted to have not rely on batteries, electricity or timers, and to be able to be used on a variety of different buckets and containers. So the beauty of Seal Stop is I can be using it on my horse yard, and then I'm using it in my garden, or I'm washing my car. So I really wanted it to be able to be used everywhere. So it was a guaranteed way that we could reduce water in different industries, basically. So one Seal Stop can do all your water buckets.
One householder would only need one for it to work on any bucket, any watering can. I think I've seen on your website there's even using the flexible tubs that quite often people use, trucks type thing.
It's a dreadful business model, if I'm being honest to you, because like you said, once you've got one, and because I wanted to be made here in the UK, because I wanted to guarantee that the quality was amazing and it's durable, and I've created it so every single part of Seal Stop can be interchanged. So it's all, if anything ever does get damaged on it, we can just send you one part of it, because the whole point of it is to reduce its impact on the environment. So it's all really good, but from a business point of view, like I said, you only need to buy one, and I can guarantee its lifetime.
Yeah, but I suspect most people only have one outside tap. So
That's true.
And if you need two, you might use an indoor tap and then buy a second one. But that's going to be pretty extreme. How easy is it to use your Seal Stop?
Oh, so easy. So basically all you do is clip in your hose pipe, and then, I don't know if the viewers obviously this is, it swan necks back into here and sits on your bucket, and then you can just walk away. So our slogan is set it and forget it. So it had to be easy to use, because once you make something complicated, people don't want to use it. And then, like I said, the end game is to reduce water usage. So had to be really easy to use. Literally clip it on, pop it on your bucket, walk away.
Fantastic. Now, you just showed me the item. I think it's probably right that we sort of describe it for the listener to explain what it looks like. Basically, what you've got at the very top, you've got the standard hose click connector at the very top, which attaches onto a horizontal piece that clips over the side of the bucket. It's grey. And then coming down from the other side from that is a tube where I assume your water comes out from.
Yeah, so it's got these fins on the side where the water can come out of. And then in the bottom section is the float. So it works on a diaphragm and float system. So basically, going right from the top, the diaphragm is depressed by the water from the hose, which then allows it to come out the fins. And then on the bottom section, it's got a float. So as the water in the bucket rises, the float rises with it, causes pressure within the diaphragm, which then seals on the internal rim. So then what happens is if you lift it back out again, the float can then drop and the water can then restart.
Okay, so something to remember is to turn the tap off before you lift it.
Yeah, or if you use it on a quick stop end, which is what I use. So if you unclip it at the quick stop end, you leave the hose pipe still stuck in the holder, move it to the next bucket, clip it back on again, and then you can walk away.
Oh, brilliant. You've obviously put a lot of thought into this and how it works.
Yeah, I did. I've got that kind of character where things have to be right. And like you said, I knew how I wanted it to look. I knew I wanted it to be portable, easy to use, and not, like I said, not rely on electricity or anything like that. It had to be, use it everywhere. And as I said, a lot of equestrian yards are set up in fields, but all they've basically got is mains water. And like I said, same with allotments, you haven't necessarily got any electricity or anything. So it was trying to help as many people as I possibly could.
Brilliant. Now, if anybody does want to buy one of these or find out more, where should they head to?
So our website's probably the best place, or our Instagram. So our website's www.sealstop.co.uk. Our Instagram handle's similar, so it's Sealstop Limited, and that'll find you on all our social media platforms.
Brilliant. I will, of course, add links in the blog post for this. Well, I thought this Seal Stop was a really innovative product, something a bit different, something that I actually feel is worth mentioning because it goes with my ethics as well. I do believe in saving water. And with Christmas just around the corner, I think this is one of those ideal Christmas gifts that I think you might want to find underneath your Christmas tree. Well, we are coming to the end of this week's podcast. If you have enjoyed this podcast, then please leave us a rate and review on your podcast provider. It only takes you a few seconds, but it means the world to us and helps us get found by more people who might be interested in learning more about how to grow their own food. Now, Lynn has actually left us a comment, but it's a question which I'm going to save for next week. It's about gooseberry sawfly. If you have enjoyed this podcast, you want to help support the work that we do, then please consider becoming a member of the Veg Grower Podcast Supporters Club. Only £5 a month to be a member, and it gives you access to a whole wide range of things. Details on that, of course, on our website, theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk. If you want to get in touch, you can leave us a comment on our blog post. You can leave us a voicemail on our website as well, or you can email me, richard@theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk. And of course, you can find me on social media. We will be back again next time, so until then, please take care.